What if I told you that the very thing many older men turn to for comfort could be quietly sabotaging their brain? Not in an obvious headline-making way, but in a quiet, creeping pattern that steals clarity, dulls emotion, and slowly disconnects a man from his memory, himself. I know, it's not something most doctors talk about, especially not with men your age. But after 35 years in urology and men's health, and after sitting across from thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, I need to say this: porn is not harmless. Not after 60, not for your brain, not for your identity. And I say this not as a moralist, not as a preacher, but as a man who spent his life listening, watching, studying, and connecting the dots that most of us were never taught to see. Let's be honest. Most men discover pornography in silence. They never talk about it. It becomes a private ritual, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, sometimes the only consistent source of release or escape they have left. But what if that same ritual was the reason you're forgetting names more often? The reason your motivation is dropping? The reason connection with your partner or with yourself feels flat, even forced? I've seen men sit across from me and say, "Doc, I don't know what's wrong with me. I used to be sharp, focused, confident. Now I lose track of my thoughts mid-sentence. I start something, then stop. I feel foggy." And here's the truth no one ever told them. The modern porn cycle is training your brain to misfire. It's not just about arousal. It's about overstimulation. It's about repetition. It's about neurological dependency, where the brain becomes addicted not to sex, but to novelty, speed, isolation. Your brain isn't broken, but it may be exhausted, because here's what most men over 60 don't realize. Your brain changes with age. Its ability to recover from high dopamine spikes gets weaker. Its tolerance for stimulation goes down. Its desire for real-world reward and emotional bonding becomes stronger, but harder to access when artificial highs dominate the wiring. So when you feed it artificial pleasure again and again, year after year, you aren't just blowing off steam. You're slowly rerouting the reward system, away from real relationships, away from focus, away from memory, and into isolation. And no one ever told you. That's not your fault. But now that you know, it is your responsibility. Because the damage, it's not permanent, not yet. Today I want to walk you through the science behind porn and memory loss. The subtle symptoms most men ignore until it's too late. How to gently, respectfully rewire your brain without shame. And how men, even in their 70s and 80s, are reversing the fog and reclaiming their clarity. This isn't a scare video. This is a conversation I wish more doctors were brave enough to have with men like you. So if you're still here, if part of you is curious, concerned, or just quietly wondering, could this be affecting me too? Then stay with me, because I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to give you your brain back. Let's begin. Section 1. The brain wasn't built for endless stimulation. Let's go back to something simple, something human. Before the devices, before the tabs, before the quiet drift, your brain wasn't built for what it's going through today, especially not after 60. See, your brain is a beautiful machine, but it's not a modern one. It evolved in a world where things were slow. You walked to the river, you sat by the fire, you spoke face to face. Your experiences unfolded over minutes, hours, seasons. Even desire, even pleasure, had rhythm. You felt touch, eye contact, connection. Your nervous system rose gradually, naturally, and when it was over, it came down gently. But now your brain is being asked to process hundreds of sexual images in under 5 minutes. Faces, bodies, sounds, angles, novelty after novelty, no pause, no connection, no breath. And when that kind of overstimulation happens repeatedly over time, especially in an older brain, it doesn't just excite you, it rewires you. Porn isn't just visual, it's neurological. Here's what most men don't understand. Porn isn't just about what you see, it's about what your brain releases in response to what you see. Every time you watch something new, shocking, extreme, or unexpected, your brain releases a chemical cocktail. Dopamine, your anticipation and reward chemical oxytocin, bonding hormone, yes, even with a screen, cortisol, stress from overstimulation, prolactin, post-release crash hormone. When this happens repeatedly, day after day, week after week, year after year, your brain doesn't just experience pleasure, it starts to crave stimulation as a baseline. You get used to artificial intensity. You get less responsive to real-world rewards. And worst of all, your brain starts ignoring the slower, quieter joys, like memory, focus, stillness, intimacy. After 60, the brain changes, and the risks multiply. You see, a younger brain can bounce back more easily. At 25 or 30, you can overstimulate and recover within a day. But after 60, neuroplasticity slows. Dopamine recovery takes longer. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus, discipline, impulse control, thins with age. The hippocampus, the memory center, becomes more sensitive to overload. What does that mean for you? It means that what felt like harmless pleasure for decades can quietly become a source of erosion. Not overnight, but in the small, creeping ways. Forgetting why you opened a drawer. Feeling foggy after reading just 2 pages. Getting irritated more easily. Zoning out during a conversation with someone you love. And here's the dangerous part. Most men never connect it to what's happening in their private moments, but your brain does. Every single time. But I only watch sometimes. I've heard this from hundreds of patients. Doc, I don't overdo it. It's just a habit. Better than drinking. I'm not addicted. I'm just bored. And maybe all that's true, but this isn't about addiction. This is about what repeated overstimulation teaches your brain to expect. Even once or twice a week, if it's intense, emotionally isolated, and driven by novelty, can shape your wiring. And over time, that wiring shapes your attention span, your memory, your emotional range, your sex drive, even your confidence. Your brain remembers even when you don't. Here's the truth. Your brain is always learning, even at 65, even at 75, even at 85. And if you feed it something again and again, even passively, it doesn't ask, is this good for me? It simply says, this must be what I need to survive. So it adapts, but not always in your favor. And that's how so many older men who are wise, experienced, successful, begin to slowly lose presence, clarity, and connection without ever knowing why. But now you do. And once you know, you get to choose what you teach your brain from here on out. In the next section, I'll show you how to spot 3 signs that this quiet rewiring may already be affecting your life. Not just in your memory, but in your emotions, your energy, and your relationships. If this message helped you, give it a like so more men can find it. Share your story in the comments. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And don't forget to subscribe for more real conversations about healing, aging, and reclaiming your strength after 60. Section 2, 3 signs your brain may already be affected. Most men don't notice the change at first. The erosion doesn't come like a crash. It comes like a slow fog. One day you forget where you put your glasses. Then a week later, you walk into a room and can't remember why. And then months later, you're staring at someone you love, but your mind is somewhere else entirely. You brush it off. You blame stress, or aging, or sleep. And all those things matter. But when these changes quietly appear in the shadow of overstimulation, it's worth paying attention, because the brain never forgets what it's trained to expect. If you've been using porn regularly, even moderately, for years, your brain may already be showing signs of change. Here are 3 of the most common signs I see in men over 60. Symptoms they almost always overlook until it's too late. 1. Short-term memory. Holes that you laugh off, but keep happening. Let's be clear, everyone forgets things sometimes, But when you start noticing patterns, and especially when your spouse or family does, that's no longer normal forgetfulness. We're talking about walking into a room and forgetting why, losing your train of thought in mid-sentence, struggling to recall something you just read or heard, repeating stories or questions without realizing it, misplacing objects in odd places, like the fridge, the mailbox, the closet. These are all signs that the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, is struggling to encode and consolidate new information. Why? Because dopamine overload from porn repeatedly overstimulates the hippocampus, shifting its focus from real-time memory formation to short-circuit reward loops. In simpler terms, your brain keeps chasing the next image, even when there isn't one. It forgets to hold on to what just happened, because it's always preparing for the next hit. This is not age alone. This is overstimulation interfering with real-life retention. 2. Emotional numbness that feels like I'm just getting older. I hear this all the time. Doc, I don't get excited like I used to. I still love my wife, but something feels off. I just feel flat. I don't know how else to say it. What they're describing isn't just aging. It's emotional detachment caused by long-term artificial stimulation. Here's what's happening. Your brain's reward system, especially the mesolimbic pathway, is designed to respond to real emotional cues. A kind smile, a deep conversation, physical closeness with a partner, the joy of creating or building something. But when that system is hijacked by repetitive sexual overstimulation, often in isolation, without intimacy, your brain recalibrates what it finds rewarding. The result, real intimacy feels awkward, conversation feels tedious, touch without stimulation feels boring, you feel disconnected even in the middle of connection. This isn't you losing interest in life, it's your brain losing balance, and it can be restored. 3. Quiet decline in focus, motivation, and follow-through. One of the most overlooked signs is this. You stop finishing things. You start a book and never return to it. You begin a project, but let it sit for months. You make goals, but the follow-through disappears. And it's not because you don't care. It's because your brain is struggling to stay engaged without high stimulation triggers. When the brain gets used to high dopamine spikes from fast-paced, novelty-rich content like porn, it becomes less responsive to normal levels of satisfaction. That's called dopamine downregulation. So the things that used to feel fulfilling, like making a nice meal, organizing your tools, or writing a letter to your grandchild, now feel dull. This is the hidden cost of chronic overstimulation. Less focus, less follow-through, less joy in small wins. The longer it goes on, the more passive you feel, and the more fog becomes your new normal. But it doesn't have to stay that way. How do you know if it's already happening to you? Here's a simple test I give my older patients. Have you forgotten 3 please things in the past week that you used to remember easily? Have you stopped feeling emotionally present during intimacy, even when you want to feel close? Have you lost motivation for small, meaningful routines, like walking, cooking, or calling someone you care about? If you answered yes to any of those, you're not broken. You're wired for overstimulation, and your brain is asking for a reset. The good news, the brain, even the aging brain, is still flexible, still repairable, still listening. In the next section, I'll show you how to gently begin resetting your brain and your life. No shame, no pressure, just quiet steps back to presence. If this section describes what you've been quietly going through, say I feel this in the comments. No judgment, just honesty. Section 3, how to rewire your brain. Gently, without shame. Let me say this clearly. You do not need to feel ashamed. Not for your habits, not for your history, not for the years you spent coping the only way you knew how. Shame is not a treatment. It only creates silence, and silence creates suffering. I've had men in their 60s and 70s sit across from me and whisper as if confessing a crime. I've been watching porn for 40 years, Doc. I tried to stop a few times, but I always come back. Does this mean I'm broken? And every time I tell them the same thing. No, you're not broken. You're conditioned, and conditioning can be changed. Your brain, even after decades, still responds to gentle cues. You don't have to go cold turkey. You don't have to punish yourself. You just need to retrain your reward system with consistency, clarity, and care. Step 1. Begin a simple dopamine reset. The goal here isn't perfection, it's awareness. Start with 7 days, just 1 week where you commit to no porn, no sexually explicit content, including soft material like suggestive thumbnails or stories. No intentional triggering situations, late-night browsing, boredom scrolling. Why 7 days? Because during this time, your brain gets a chance to rebalance. Your dopamine levels begin to stabilize. Your frontal lobe, responsible for focus and decision-making, starts to wake up. You'll feel urges, maybe even more fog at first. But that's part of the reset, not a sign of failure. Pro tip, replace the habit, don't just remove it. When the urge strikes, redirect your attention to something physical and grounding, a 5-minute walk. Light stretching, washing your face with cold water, journaling 1 page about what you're feeling. This helps rewire the stimulus. Action loop. Step 2. Retrain your brain to find reward in real life. One of the most powerful tools in reversing memory loss and emotional flatness is reintroducing slow, meaningful pleasure. Yes, pleasure, not avoidance, not guilt. Porn robs the brain of depth, so your recovery requires depth. Here are 3 small rewiring actions I recommend to patients. Morning stillness, 5 minutes. Before reaching for your phone, sit by a window. Take 10 deep breaths. Observe your thoughts without judgment. This starts your day with presence instead of reaction. Real touch daily. Hold someone's hand. Hug longer. Place your palm on your own chest while breathing. Real touch retrains oxytocin, the bonding hormone, to reconnect with safety and warmth. Nostalgic memory recall, evening. Each night recall 1 vivid, positive memory from earlier life. Where were you? What did it smell like? How did your body feel? This stimulates the hippocampus and reminds your brain that memory is meant to be alive, not lost. These aren't substitutes, they're restorations. Step 3. Replace shame with curiosity. This might be the most important step of all. Instead of saying, "Why can't I stop?" ask, "What was I seeking in that moment?" Instead of, "I failed again." Try, "My brain went back to an old path. Can I gently guide it elsewhere tomorrow?" Every time you respond with curiosity instead of criticism, you create space for healing. Your brain begins to feel safe enough to change. And when your brain feels safe, it learns faster. Step 4. Track the return of what you thought you lost. I encourage my patients to keep a simple brain recovery journal with 3 daily questions. What small thing did I notice or remember today? What gave me a moment of real presence? Did anything feel easier today than it did last week? After 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, they begin to write. I remembered a joke my son told me 2 weeks ago. I finished a book for the first time in years. I actually felt attracted to my wife again. Not just physically, but emotionally. That's the reward. That's real dopamine. That's real memory. And you didn't get there by force. You got there by listening. Let me be clear. This isn't about quitting something. It's about returning to yourself, to your clarity, to your focus, to your ability to feel. And it starts not with shame, but with a quiet decision to reclaim your mind. In the next section, I'll show you the unexpected benefits men experience once they begin this journey, even ones they never thought were connected to memory. If you're ready to try the 7-day reset, comment "I'm in" below. And know this, you're not alone. You're supported. Section 4. The unexpected benefits of resetting your brain. Most men who begin the reset journey have one goal. I just want my memory back, doc. I want to feel like myself again. I want to stop feeling so cloudy. And that's a beautiful place to start. But what surprises nearly all of them are the unexpected shifts that happen when the brain is no longer overstimulated. Because when you reset your reward system, even gently, you don't just improve focus, you restore energy, you rediscover emotion, you reclaim your edge. Let's look at 4 surprising transformations men experience once they step away from chronic porn use and overstimulation, especially after 60. 1. Better sleep. Deeper, longer, more restorative. You might not realize it, but overstimulation affects sleep in 2 major ways. It delays melatonin release, making it harder to fall asleep. It fragments REM cycles, making sleep feel lighter and less restorative. That's why many older men who watch porn late at night wake up feeling tired, irritable, or mentally slow, even after 8 hours in bed. Within 1 to 2 weeks of a reset, I hear this: "I didn't toss and turn last night. I actually woke up before my alarm and felt rested. My dreams came back, real ones, vivid." This isn't magic, it's neurochemical recovery. When the brain stops chasing high dopamine spikes, it begins to regulate its sleep-wake rhythm again. And with better sleep comes 2. Natural morning energy. Without caffeine or guilt. You know that groggy, heavy feeling that sometimes lingers until noon? That's often a sign of hormonal imbalance caused by overstimulation and poor sleep. When you remove intense nightly triggers, your cortisol rhythm, the hormone that naturally wakes you up, resets. The result? You wake up with clarity. Your motivation returns without forcing it. You stop needing multiple cups of coffee just to feel human. And for many men, this also means 3. A return of sexual confidence, not just physically, but emotionally. Let's talk about something we often avoid. Real intimacy, not just arousal, but presence, connection, feeling worthy in the moment, even without performing. After weeks or months away from porn, men often say, "I felt nervous to be close to my partner again, but it was real. For the first time in years, I didn't need stimulation to feel connected. I didn't feel broken. I felt human again." That's because porn often disconnects performance from emotion. But real touch, real closeness, heals that split. When you give your brain time to recover, your libido returns with depth. It becomes less about performance and more about presence. And that is often what your partner is truly craving. 4. Clearer thinking and faster recall. The fog starts to lift. This is what men notice first, but also last. First, because small shifts happen quickly. You remember names. You track your thoughts in conversation. You start finishing books again. Last, because deeper clarity takes weeks, sometimes months, as the brain rebuilds its baseline. But when it arrives, you feel it. I remembered my friend's phone number without looking it up. I had a sharp comeback in conversation. I haven't felt that quick in years. My wife said I'm more present than I've been in a decade. This isn't just about recall, it's about self-respect. Because when your brain works, you start trusting yourself again. The bigger shift, from numb to alive. Perhaps the most unexpected benefit is one men struggle to name. It's not a memory, not energy, not libido. It's this: you start to feel again. Music moves you, nature calms you. Your grandchild's laughter hits you in the chest. That's the true prize of rewiring your brain. You get your sensitivity back. Your masculinity becomes rooted, not reactive, and you feel present in your own life again. This is what happens when the noise fades. This is what's waiting beneath the screen. This is who you were before the overstimulation, and he's not gone. He's just been waiting for you to return. If this message helped you, give it a like so more men can find it. Share your story in the comments. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And don't forget to subscribe for more real conversations about healing, aging, and reclaiming your strength after 60. Section 5, what to do. If you're starting late, even in your 70s or 80s, you might be thinking, "Doc, this all sounds good, but I'm too late. I've been doing this for 40, maybe 50 years. My mind's not what it used to be. What's the point now?" Let me pause you right there. You are not too late. The brain does not stop learning at 70. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, continues until your final breath. And often the greatest transformations happen later in life because wisdom finally meets willingness. First, let go of the idea that it's too far gone. I've had men in their early 80s say to me, "I started this reset, doc, and I actually cried after dinner with my wife. I hadn't felt that in years." Not because their memory came back overnight, but because for the first time in decades, they felt something other than numbness. You see, the body slows down, but the brain, the soul, the heart, they're always listening. They're always waiting for a new signal. And the signal doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be true. Start small, even smaller than you think. For men starting later, I recommend tiny steps, not grand declarations. Here's what a late life reset can look like. Day 1. Notice when the urge to escape hits. That's all. No judgment, just awareness. Day 2 to 3, delay the habit by 10 minutes. Replace it with walking, stretching, or drinking water. Day 4 to 7, journal 1 sentence per day. What was I feeling before the urge? Week 2, go a full day with no screens after 8 p.m. Week 3, invite your body into small rituals of reconnection, shaving slowly, moisturizing your hands, making eye contact. These aren't just actions, they're signals to the nervous system. I'm here now, and I care. Yes, even memory can return. Gently, I once had a patient named Victor. He was 76 when he came in. Years of heavy stimulation use. Divorced, retired, alone. He told me, "I used to be sharp, doc, fast, but now I can't even finish a crossword." We started simple. No porn for 10 days, a walk every morning, breathing exercises before bed, a memory journal by the nightstand. At his 1-month check-in, he said something I'll never forget. I remembered my high school teacher's name. I hadn't said it aloud in 30 years. It just came to me. That's not coincidence. That's the brain thanking you for finally giving it peace. You don't need a partner to reconnect. Some men worry, "I'm not married. I don't have anyone to share this with." But this journey is not about someone else. It's about you, your dignity, your clarity, your ability to feel alive again in your own skin. When you reclaim your mind, you begin to see the world differently. Food tastes better. Music feels deeper. Conversations carry meaning again, even short ones. And you might be surprised how people begin to respond to the shift in you. A neighbor lingers longer in small talk. Your daughter calls more often. A woman at the grocery store smiles. And you feel it, because when a man becomes present, the world notices, no matter how old he is. Tools that work well for late starters. Here are 3 tools older men find especially helpful. Voice notes instead of journaling. If writing is tiring, record 30 seconds of thoughts. Speak to yourself like a friend. It builds compassion. Memory walks. Take 15 minutes a day to walk with one intention. What is one good thing I remember from my past? Guided audio reflections. Use simple apps like Insight Timer or Calm. Search for brain healing or dopamine reset meditations. Just 10 minutes a day can shift your chemistry. Growth doesn't end after retirement. It begins anew. Most men spend their early years performing, working, providing, proving. But later in life, there's space to simply be, to heal what was ignored, to soften what was hardened, to forgive the boy inside you who never learned how to sit still with pain. You are not late. You are right on time for this part of the journey. If you're starting this reset after 70, type "still growing" in the comments. Your age is not a barrier. It's a badge of wisdom. You're not broken, you're becoming. Let's take a breath. If you've watched this far, if you've sat through the science, the stories, the uncomfortable truths, I want to say something clearly. You are not broken. Not because you've struggled. Not because your memory faltered. Not because you turned to screens when the world felt distant. You are human. You are aging. Yes, but you are also awakening. And that is a sacred thing. The quiet war no one sees. Most men over 60 are fighting a quiet battle. Not with weapons, but with forgetting, with emptiness, with the sense that life has started moving without them, and they're not sure how to rejoin it. You wake up and the house is quiet. The world feels faster, your energy is lower, and somewhere along the way, pleasure became something private instead of shared. So you turn inward, you escape into screens, and little by little, you feel yourself slip away. That isn't failure, it's survival. But it's not the only way. Because even now, especially now, you can choose presence over pattern. You can reclaim your ability to feel without guilt, to remember without shame, to connect without hiding. You're not just quitting a habit, you're rebuilding a self. This journey isn't about stopping porn, it's about relearning how to be a man again. A man who listens to his body, who respects his mind, who feels emotion without needing escape. It's about building a relationship with your brain, where you become allies again, where memory isn't feared, where silence isn't threatening, where slowness becomes strength. Because the strongest men I know in their 70s and 80s aren't the ones who power through. They're the ones who pause, who reflect, who respond with gentleness instead of guilt. Becoming the man you needed. I've had older patients weep when they realize, I never had anyone teach me how to handle emotions. No one told me my brain could change. I thought it was too late to feel like this again. But here you are, and that tells me something powerful. You're becoming the man you always needed, the one who knows when to stop, the one who knows how to breathe through discomfort, the one who teaches younger men that softness is strength, not shame. What happens now? You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to go 90 days. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, but you can do this. Start with today. Listen to your urges, not as enemies, but as messages. Replace reaction with reflection. Choose presence over porn, one moment at a time. And when you fall, because we all do, fall forward. Fall into awareness. Fall into support. Fall into the next honest breath. This isn't a sprint. This is a return to yourself. A personal message to the men still watching. If you've made it to the end of this video, I want you to know you are part of something rare. Most men your age never hear this message. They keep suffering in silence. They keep forgetting in shame. They keep living behind a screen, hoping no one sees how lost they feel. But you stayed. You listened. You leaned in. You started to feel again. And that matters more than you know. Because when one man heals, he gives permission for others to do the same. Your story is not over. In fact, this may be the chapter that defines the rest of your life. Not because it was easy, but because it was honest. If any part of this feels familiar, even just a little, leave a comment with, "This hit me." You're not alone. And this is just the beginning. If this message helped you, give it a like so more men can find it. Share your story in the comments. Your words might be exactly what another man needs to see tonight. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. We're building a space for men over 60 who still care, still grow, and still believe in what's possible.